They say sacrifices are remembered, that service and honor don't fade with time, but that's not always true. Imagine serving your country, giving it your youth, your strength, your blood, only to come home to bills you can't pay, children you can't afford to educate, and a family looking at you with desperate eyes. That was my life 25 years ago. I was a soldier, decorated for bravery, carrying medals that symbolized every drop of sweat and fear I'd left on the battlefield. But when my boys were old enough for college and I had no money to give them, those medals were the only currency I had left. So, I sold them. Every ribbon, every medal, every piece of honor the government had pinned to my chest, I handed them over to strangers just so my kids could have the education I never did. And you know what? After all of that, they walked away from me. They never looked back. Not a phone call, not a letter. For 25 years, I was just the old man who'd once been their father. If you've ever felt the sting of being abandoned after giving someone everything, you'll understand why this story matters. So, sit tight, because what happened next will leave you with chills. And if you love seeing justice come full circle, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and let Yes dive into one of the most unexpectedly satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. The years were cruel. Retirement came with no savings. I lived modestly, fixing broken furniture for neighbors, helping around town, quietly surviving. My name was forgotten by most, but I never stopped watching the world move forward without me. Meanwhile, my sons, bright, ambitious, polished by the education my sacrifices paid for, built successful lives. They became lawyers, bankers, men of influence. Yet not once did they acknowledge me. When I sent letters, they went unanswered. When I left voicemails, they never called back. I told myself I did the right thing, that their success was enough payment. But inside, I burned with a hollow kind of pain. The pain of a father discarded like an old uniform. Years later, the world had changed. Technology grew, fortunes were made, and one strange twist of fate began turning the wheel in my direction. A journalist friend, one of the few who still checked in on me, reached out with surprising news. He'd been digging into a feature about forgotten veterans and stumbled upon an auction listing. My medals, were being resold. And not just for pocket change. They were valuable now, collector's items, tied to military history. The kind of things museums and wealthy buyers were clamoring for. I stared at the photographs online, my name etched into the back of each medal, proof of my service. Seeing them again cracked something inside me open. They weren't just metal. They were years of crawling through mud, nights without sleep, missions where I watched men die. They were pieces of me, and now strangers were trading them for profit. But then, something else caught my eye. The buyer. It was a trust fund managed by a bank, my son's bank. He hadn't known it, but he'd just bought his father's medals, tucked away under anonymous acquisitions. It felt like destiny. I didn't rush. Revenge is best savored, slow, and deliberate. I dug deeper, with my journalist friend helping me. The medals weren't just in storage, they were being arranged for a charity gala where war memorabilia would be displayed as symbols of patriotism and sacrifice. My son was one of the sponsors. He planned to stand on stage, shaking hands, smiling for photographs, pretending to honor veterans like me. He didn't know he'd be standing in front of the very medals his father had sold to give him his life. The night of the gala came. I wore my old uniform, patched and faded but still fitting well enough. People gave me nods of respect as I walked in, but no one knew who I was. My sons were there, tuxedos gleaming, wives glittering in jewels, their smiles wide and rehearsed. They hadn't seen me yet. The hall was filled with cameras, reporters, politicians. When the time came, my son took the stage. He spoke about sacrifice, about the importance of remembering those who served, about how much veterans had given for the future of their children. My fists clenched. Every word was a dagger, a lie slipping so easily from his mouth. Then the medals were unveiled in a glass case. My medals. And in that moment, I walked forward. The crowd murmured as I stepped onto the stage. My son faltered mid-sentence, his confident smile freezing into shock. I placed my hand on the glass and spoke, not to him, but to the crowd. These medals aren't just tokens. They aren't just decorations. They were bought with blood, sweat, and years I can never get back. They belong to me, and I sold them, for my son's education, so they could stand where they are today. Gasps filled the room. My son's face went pale. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled, and whispers rippled through the audience. "But do you know," I continued, my voice breaking but steady, "after all that sacrifice, my sons never looked back. Not once. For 25 years, I was nothing to them. Tonight, they stand here honoring veterans while forgetting the one who gave them everything." The silence was heavy, suffocating. My son shifted uncomfortably, trying to smile, but the mask had slipped. The hypocrisy was laid bare. And then came the applause. Not for them, for me. Strangers stood, clapping, some with tears in their eyes. The spotlight shifted. The cameras turned. And for the first time in decades, I felt seen. My sons avoided me that night. They didn't know what to say. They couldn't spin it, couldn't erase the humiliation. Their colleagues, their peers, everyone now knew the truth. Their wealth, their status, their polished reputations, all of it built on the sacrifice of the man they had abandoned. The revenge wasn't about destroying them financially or physically. It was about truth, about making sure they and everyone else saw them for what they really were. And it worked. Business partners grew wary. Clients asked questions. Their pristine reputations were stained with whispers of betrayal and shame. As for me, I walked away lighter. I didn't need their apologies. I didn't need their money. The world had finally witnessed what I had endured. And in that moment, standing tall in my faded uniform, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. So remember this. Sometimes revenge isn't fire and fury. Sometimes it's simply the truth revealed at the right moment, under the brightest light, and when it lands, it cuts deeper than any weapon. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what is the most satisfying moment of justice you've ever seen. Because one thing's for sure, karma always keeps the receipts.